All right. Welcome to another crazy episode of the Lockdown Podcast. We're here to continue to pick apart Raw, SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and a plethora of whatever we feel like talking about. So, holy smokes, Money in the Bank was insane. We'll get to it, but I just wanted to say that little bit so in case I get a clip created, it just says Money in the Bank was insane. So, anyways, I got a good face for radio, I tell you. But so basically Monday, Friday was basically the lead up to Money in the Bank for Saturday. Um, I would say they did a pretty decent job of building for Money in the Bank this go around. Just because there's so many different stories intertwined in all of the competitors for Money in the Bank on both sides, the men and the women's. So I think we'll just kind of get through this. Um, so Monday Night Raw obviously kicks off with CM Punk and Sami Zayn basically chatting about how CM Punk needs to win, the match, the triple threat to qualify, and he needs to win for everybody in the back and everything else, and basically talking about how we don't want Seth Rollins to win. You need to you need to be the person to basically stop him. um that kind of went on, and I think honestly he's kind of right though, just because obviously we've seen Seth Rollins and his goons kind of take over the show, and so I think it's good story. It's good storytelling, trying to basically make someone the hero, someone the villain, in that regards. So we've seen Stephanie Vaquer basically get called up pretty much right after she lost her belt in typical WWE lure. Obviously, that's kind of how things happen. You lose the belt, and then hey, by the way, you're going up the main roster. So, um, obviously, it was pretty much a done deal that she was going to win that triple threat to be the final qualifier for the Money in the Bank ladder match. No real surprise. They don't hide their surprises all too well in WWE. So, yeah. Um, so once again, we have Finn Balor, JD McDonough versus the War Raiders, and in typical fashion, that's been the recipe for a couple weeks now, is the emergence of Roxanne Perez and her trying to slide her way into the Judgment Day story, the nonsense. Um, I think it's good. I think Roxanne already has that kind of character build from NXT to basically fit in to the Judgment Day stuff. I don't know what they're going to do with her moving forward, but at this current juncture, I think it's good that she's rubbing elbows with the veterans in this particular story manner. I think it's good for her, to be somewhere in the main roster versus a lot of times when NXT gets called up, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. So I think it's good. I think it's a good place for her. Um, Now Lyra Valkyria, on the other hand, not I don't know how to really figure out what her plan is on the main roster. Obviously, like, it was a kind of a absolute surprise for her to initially win the women's intercontinental belt in general, just because we thought that would go to at least a semi-veteran, but it didn't. And so WWE had to figure out how to make her relevant. And I think the storyline with Becky Lynch is exactly doing that. Obviously, she does have a history with Becky Lynch, even going back a couple years when it came to the NXT Women's Championship. in winning that over Becky Lynch. So this is honestly a good story just because there's more depth to it than what's on the surface of the main roster stuff. So I think it's good. I think I look forward to what they're going to do, with Lyra Valkyria. I feel like it would be weird for her to be a heelish character. I think she's going to stay kind of face for the foreseeable future. So I don't see anything changing there. So Jey Uso and Sami Zayn basically had a match with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It is such a tongue tie to say Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Two big boys.
Two big boys. Yep.
But yeah, and so obviously in typical fashion, the trope of all tropes, the recipe of all recipes, obviously has Seth interrupt the match. Whoa, big surprise. Like it's so repetitive when they do these things, and I mean it works to a certain extent, but it's also annoying to a certain extent. Like, how do you guys feel like about this whole new Seth Rollins group and basically kind of performing repetitious behavior that's been done 1,000 times over?
So something that just dawned on me is that he should just call them the B and B security, because they're dressing just like his former two-man backup team that he had with J&J Security. So Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury from almost 10 years ago. It seems like that's crazy.
J&J Security.
Yep. So
that group sucked.
Yeah, I think this group is much more dominant and means business. But we've got to really start establishing those two with some championship gold. They, whether you get them as a tag team champion or something or another, they've all three of them need to be holding a title of some sort for them to have relevancy in what Seth Rollins, his character, is envisioning for Monday Night Raw. So outside of that, it is the same old trope. It's just being told a different way. We've got to do something with those two, because it would be a waste for them not to have for them not to be a tag team, or for them not to have championship aspirations and them going for it. So Seth doesn't need a championship to be relevant. But those other two, both Bronson and Braun.
And they rose through the ranks quick in NXT.
Definitely.
And so it's essentially big and bigger security. Yeah. I mean, it's however you want to run it. I mean, it's kind of laughable, how serious they are about the suits and the sunglasses thing. I think it's a little bit laughable.
like watching Men in Black there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a little bit silly, I guess, but maybe they, I think they need some gold. And I think honestly, only tag team gold seems to kind of ring in my ear a little bit, just because who's going to defeat Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed?
Nobody.
Those suckers could hold those things for a minute, and I think that would up the relevancy of this faction, this group. Not, so I hope they do something with it. I hope they don't wash this. I mean, I hope they don't make this very Final Testament, very Hit Row.
They need to come out with a name for their group too.
I don't even think they need a name. They can just, it's it's just what they are. It's
bad and badder.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I feel like I don't think they need really a name. I think this is more of like a group of guys that have similar interest than a faction. So,
yeah,
I hope they don't have them get lost in the shuffle.
Which could easily happen because from a creative standpoint, there's so many different ways that they could go. I mean, I think right now what we're going to get is probably like a CM Punk, a CM Punk challenge specifically for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Kind of like what they did with The Miz. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think they have to have something in the works for these guys. I don't doubt it just because they are two mean SOBs. Like, let's be real. Like, Bronson don't give a fuck what he does to anybody. Braun will literally spear anybody with absolute velocity and speed. So you have someone who's mean with speed and you have someone who's mean with meat.
Yeah.
So like I look forward to what they do with them though. So we've had these little spat of a thing, we'll call it, ever since Kairi Sane came back, having these matches with Liv Morgan and beating her, and then having a match with Raquel Rodriguez and beating her, and then obviously we have a street fight, a no disqualification, whatever you want to tagline it as. And ironically enough, Kairi Sane, with the help of one Io Sky, gets the W against Raquel Rodriguez again. And I think it's funny because it's starting to show the cracks in Judgment Day between Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, just because you have Roxanne Perez in the wings, you have her kind of in the mix. You almost have like a group divided where like Finn is like he's handpicked Roxanne Perez. You have so you have JD that's obviously going to be more towards with Finn, and then you have Dominic in the middle of it all, and he's torn, between free nuggies and
free uppies
and free free nosies. So yeah. It's an interesting thing. I hope that we get the downfall sooner rather than later. I would say I want something to fall before SummerSlam. I want to see a match, something, in the works in regards to any collective person in the group. I want to see them face off at SummerSlam. We have 2 nights, so we have plenty of match card to work with. You can throw in 3 to 5 just nonsensical BS matches, and that's fine with me because it's freaking 2 nights. So, I mean, they're going to have to really fill this card out very WrestleMania-esque to make it valid. Otherwise, the 2-night SummerSlam is an absolute dud.
Yeah.
But I digress, as we do.
Yeah.
As we do, we get a little heated, and we got to bring it back down just a smidge. But it's mostly me.
Yep.
But, pending on the situation, my cohorts will definitely give some beef, some heat.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to R-Truth. But
yeah.
So we have El Grande Americano win the final triple threat, which, good God, can we just move on from this story? Can he just get unmasked and just be done? This is an insult to luchador wrestling, and it is a slap in the face to the legit luchadors of the game. It's insulting. It really genuinely is insulting because we know who it is, and so like it's run its course.
Yeah,
let's have a mask for mask match and be done with it.
Yeah, I think they have something. I think they'll do something. It won't be in the next couple of Raws. I think this will be over by SummerSlam with Chad Gable, wearing that mask. Yeah. I'm over it too.
It's annoying.
I mean, it's starting to go the same way as that Shorty G persona.
Oh my gosh. And I chalk it up the fact that he will do whatever character he has to do to maintain a position in the company. I give him that much. Like,
make
the Shorty G. Oh my gosh. El Grande America. Yeah. So SmackDown. So we've basically, in WWE, they have basically thrown out this you're on this show, you're on that show kind of mentality. The show kicks off with Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and the Ultimate Troll Paul Heyman. Them coming to really not your show and trying to talk your talk. Interrupt. They obviously get interrupted by Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and one big, massive man, JC Mateo. Oh, man. Yeah, and all in all, go ahead.
I like how when they come out and you got Paul Heyman just walks right back behind them, just stares, gives that creepy stare to Seth, like he's gonna eat his soul out.
Yeah, it's really the same look as he gave to Roman Reigns, which
not
is
as creepy.
I mean,
yeah, I wonder if there's some foreshadowing in his stares with Rollins. It's like this reluctant alliance that he has with Rollins. Like once the moment he can escape Seth Rollins and be with someone safer, he definitely will. So
I think that this is a very strong storyline. So I don't see Paul going anywhere anytime soon. But never say never to a storyline. So
yeah.
So Jimmy Uso gets his hands on JC Mateo and defeats him in typical Big Jim fashion. I really want them to have better plans for Jimmy Uso.
Yeah, he does seem like he's floundering. Like there's, what? I would not be surprised if they get the Usos back together.
I can see it happening.
Maybe just at SummerSlam or just after SummerSlam.
Jay's going to lose the belt sooner rather than later. And so I think his singles run is going to run its course, because I think I want to see the Usos as a tag team. One, because they're fun to watch. Two, because they're legit twins. And three, they're just good. They're phenomenal tag team competitors. And I want to see them back, and I want to see them back to dominate as they have for 15 years. So I don't see Jay holding that title. I unfortunately understand the things that Gunther's saying in regards to Jay's title reign, and he doesn't really know how to be a champion. And, he has some valid points. So we're supposed
to... From a character standpoint, that's Gunther's way of getting into his head and all that other stuff. There's no written rule on how to carry yourself as a champion. You've got stuff that faces do, you got stuff that heels do, and it can go it can go any way. So I think that's more of Gunther trying to get in his head and try to do the whole psychological take on it. Nonetheless, I think your first championship reign is always like your most awkward or the one that you learn the most from. So it's gonna happen. We will see Jay lose that championship when it happens, whether it's on the very next Raw or at SummerSlam.
I'm gonna say SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's we're gonna have there's gonna be some good stuff from Jay. It's just gonna take time. As a singles competitor, and maybe he's wrapping up his singles run and he goes back, just like you were saying, go back to tag team wrestlings because there's more bloodline story that's waiting to happen.
Well, and we still have the looming stuff with, Roman Reigns, and obviously Roman Reigns signed a new contract, basically almost like a Legends contract, and I honestly like as much as I love Roman Reigns, I think it is a little bit silly when these guys that are less than part-timers making 300% more than the week-to-week people. Like, I feel like, because I think they were supposed to try to negotiate his contract from $15 million to $5 million to be a part-timer, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, they're trying. TKO is trying to cut his pay from what before they got bought by TKO. They're trying to change his pay to lower it because I think they're trying to somewhat save money because I know they're in talks on signing Ronda Rousey back to WWE. They're talking about signing her back either under a legend contract for she could be a part-time.
She's not a draw though.
No. And I'm like she's trash talked the fucking company when she left. Why do you want to sign her? I could understand she has good ties with TKO because it's UFC, whatever. I know she's good friends with everybody on the board, but still, she trash talked the freaking company. Why would you want to sign somebody that trash talks?
She's not a draw. She's an MMA star that wrestled a couple matches and gives the same look, picks her shorts out of her crotch every 5 minutes in a match. Like, I'm sorry, she's not a draw. She's not worth anything to anything. And we have a stacked women's roster as is. We have
better off in UFC.
Yeah, go back to UFC. Like
she don't want that problem. She don't want.
She's no offense. I like Ronda Rousey. I do. I'm not a big fan, but her wrestling skills. I'm gonna say Logan Paul has better wrestling skills
100%
than she does, and he picked up the wrestling skills a lot faster than she did, and she thinks she needs to stay in her lane, stay in the UFC. But I don't think she'll go back to UFC after she got her ass whooped the last match and got embarrassed. And I don't think she wants to go back. But she just needs to stay there or just stay on her farm where she's at.
Yeah,
just be a mother.
You know what? The whole Roman Reigns contract issue, if that's on them. I mean, if Roman wants to negotiate a different contract, all right, cool. But it's what it was what was offered to him. So I'm not mad at Roman taking that money. Be smart. I mean, he's already performing compromised. He's living a compromised life with his leukemia, and family medical histories or whatever have you. So he has to stay in a specific amount of shape. So I don't mind that. I don't mind his schedule. I don't mind what he's making, what he theoretically makes. I don't mind any of that. If that's the value he brings and the numbers show it, give him his money. If someone on the lower roster isn't making as much money as they are, I mean, they've got to like, see what it takes to get over the hump. But also too, there's also a fair pay for what you're presented, the work that you're doing. They gave Roman, old regime gave Roman the ball, and he took it and he just ran with it. And he was rewarded and compensated for his work ethic. I mean, and for his work.
But the thing is, but it also boils down to creative.
Right. Yeah.
And like the thing is that like if you pushed anyone else that had done the same thing, but you just chose who you chose, and like that's the thing is that you see so many wrestlers that come from other companies that were stars in that company. They come to WWE, and WWE shits on creative plans for them, and then they fizzle out. They're dropping the ball with Aleister Black right now. Hell, they've been dropping the ball when Andrade came back. They've dropped the ball with Karrion Kross and AOP and Paul Ellering being Final Testament. They dropped the ball with that.
Yeah,
when you got Kamala Hayes, when he's made to the main roster, he was doing so great in NXT. When he comes to the main roster, they shit on him.
Yeah.
He
was a first round draft pick.
You know what?
Yeah.
And I agree with that as well. It's like, how much of it is creative's fault and what are the metrics and things that they're looking at? Who gets a push and who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? But I believe that there is like, a minimum that every WWE superstar is making.
I mean, I still think they're making decent money. I don't think anybody's being ridiculously underpaid, but I just think like, they have all the travel schedules they have to accommodate by themselves. And I really feel like if WWE was compensating their travel and their car rentals and their hotels, and they were paying for all of that stuff and then giving them that salary, I'd be fine with it. But a lot of these wrestlers have to travel in packs because they're trying to save money on the road. And it's like, there's no show without these people. So if they're not putting in the travel time, going from state to state, flying, whatever, there's no show. If half the roster didn't show up to Raw, they would not have a fucking show. So like, I feel like there needs to be a certain degree of compensation is all I'm saying. But I digress. So we have Zelina Vega in a Bakersfield brawl, aka no disqualification, aka street fight, aka whatever. And once again defeats Piper Niven, and it's quite laughable that this is the exact thing they did on Raw with a street fight. It's literally a do-over. And honestly, Piper Niven and Alba Fire have been taking L's, and they're supposed to be this whole conglomerate. And you basically have, I would say that her service is basically comparable to what they're doing with Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. It's just the men are doing it better. And I don't fault Chelsea Green and Piper Niven and Alba Fire for that. I just feel like they're putting in they've put them in a very lackluster creative story. And I wish they would do something more with it. Like, Piper Niven and Alba Fire, give them some tag team opportunities, maybe give them the belts or something, do something to kind of up them a little bit, because right now we're flatlining,
Definitely.
And especially with the women's tag team division. Like, I don't care that Raquel and Liv have had more title reigns, but they've also had more opportunities in a shorter span. Like, you just went and released all of our, half of our tag teams, in those releases recently. And so, that's kind of WWE's own fault that the women's division, the tag division specifically, absolutely sucks ass. They don't do anything with it. Liv and Raquel have been walking around with those titles like they're Like they're so good and they're so.
They haven't
look at
even
me.
defended them.
No, they ain't done shit with them. Like it's just laughable that like, you know, you wanted these titles when and then you swallowed up the NXT women's tag team titles all into one, and now you have them on one show, not going to any other shows, not defending them really on NXT, or like they're supposed to be triple branded titles, and they don't do jack with them. They're literally walking around with toys. They're like toy belts. It's those belts are about as relevant as the 24/7 championship right now.
That is
except for the 24/7 was actually more entertaining. Except for the 24/7 was actually entertaining.
Yeah, when R-Truth had it.
Exactly. Like 53 times. But who's counting?
Nope.
I think it's 53.
I think it's about his age.
Yeah, he'll never beat that title reign.
No.
Oh man. I want to kind of do a branch off. This sponsorship shit is over the fucking top.
Oh, I know that
it
ring
is
is
ridiculous.
Just
now we have Slim Jim tables. We have like
fireball ladders.
Like
Cash
it is
app briefcase.
Yeah. It is. It's like, are you guys truly not making money that you need to like amp up all of this sponsorship? And I know, and I know it's TKO.
Oh,
it's not Triple
100%.
H. It's the Rock and TKO wanting to basically make WWE look like some giant.
What's next? They're gonna add freaking Hulk Hogan's nasty ass fucking beer. I've been seeing all of his fucking commercials.
I mean, you've seen the clips of like them, you know, basically saying at this point they're going to make a McDonald's World Championship. So it's just over the top. Like I understand when they first started, there was a couple on there, and that was fine. But now it's so over the top. It is just you're just plastered. This match brought to you by this. This match brought to you by this. Like,
you know,
it's becoming like watching a UFC fight, a boxing fight. That's pretty much how their rings look.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it has to do with TKO operating within a debt, you know, versus just trying to make as much money as possible in every avenue possible, because you just don't know how the business is going to change. Do I want to see a WWE show that is more sponsors and advertisements than it is athleticism and story in the ring? No one does. But at the same time, it's got to pay for something. It's got to pay for Roman Reigns' supposed contract. Yeah. You know, it's also got to pay for anything else. So I think until
it's probably it's probably trying to pay off like the ratings that they're getting from like Raw being on Netflix. They're probably not getting much. They're trying
Netflix cut them a check. Like, let's be real. Like, we all know that Netflix cut them a check to be on.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it's not an annual check with year-over-year growth or whatever.
But still, their ratings for their Netflix show is.
But at the same time, like, what does it really matter? You know what I'm saying? As long as there are people like subscribed to Netflix, and whether they watch it or not is on them. As long as people are still buying the PLEs, you know, do the ratings really matter? Long as those companies that have brought the WWE in are happy with the partnership, I think that it's okay that the ratings might not be as strong as they were 2 years ago. I mean,
but to a certain extent, though, the fact that like maybe, just maybe, we have more viewership because of Netflix. You can have a $23 a month subscription to Netflix and watch Raw and a plethora of other things. And there's some other things coming up on live on Netflix too. So like Netflix is on, this is just the baseline for Netflix to start doing live streaming. So WWE is the baseline. So they're going to see how this goes. And then, maybe we end up getting PLEs on Netflix too. Maybe they drop, I don't know what their contract is with Peacock, but they jumped from WWE Network, which I thought was better. And then they jumped to Peacock, which Peacock is acceptably fine because they already have the live streaming platform. So them doing events like that is very easy. It's not all kerfuffled like Netflix was in the beginning with the streaming issues. So maybe this is just trial and error. And they're going to see how much juice they can squeeze from WWE and work into other platforms, because they could start putting UFC fights on Netflix. You never know, but I digress.
Yeah.
So not really, I didn't watch an absolute ton of Worlds Collide, but it's insane the amount of characters they have in lucha style wrestling. It is way better characters, way more fun characters.
I watched a little bit of it. It was good.
And honestly, a good all around show. I thought it was, and I talked about this beforehand, but like, when different wrestlers come from different countries and stuff, talking in their languages, it's very difficult. Vinnie Mac would hold them back from even talking in their native language, stuff like that. And I thought it honestly was just great to basically let Stephanie Vaquer talk how she wants, to Lola Vice to talk how she wants, for Rey Mysterio to just talk in his language, in Spanish and everything else. And I thought it was fun, just that very thing, because there was so much crowd reaction because people know what they're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think the event was great. This is only the very beginning of this partnership between AAA and NXT with WWE and everything. So I look forward to what comes out of it. Maybe we get some more luchas. Maybe they go to NXT. Maybe we get main roster call-ups. Either way, I'm here for it, and I think it's great.
I like the Buana guy.
So Rey Mysterio had talked about, way back, that lucha wrestling wasn't really welcomed in WWE, WCW. It really wasn't very widely acknowledged. There wasn't lucha wrestlers on the brands. And so, for essentially kind of Rey Mysterio being kind of, one of the probably 5 catalysts for lucha wrestling to be on, WWE, WCW, ECW, AEW, like it started with AAA. So like that was the stepping stone to introducing lucha style wrestling to the rest of the world. And that's great for the business. I think it's a cool story. So now let's get to the real meat and potatoes. Let's get to the steak. Let's get to the meat of the podcast. Money in the Bank 2020 freaking 5. Man. The women knocked it out of the park. I loved the fact that Stephanie Vaquer gave Rhea Ripley the devil's kiss on a ladder. I thought like that was just kind of an interesting moment, just because she's really new to like the WWE. She basically chose to be in NXT before she was on the main roster. So that was all her own doing, her own timing. Just a great match. A lot of, the briefcase basically swaying back and forth. And apparently everybody has wet, sweaty hands, according to the commentators. But I'm happy that Naomi won.
Same.
Me too.
I think
she deserves it.
I think
she's earned it. Yep.
a lot of the predictors were all basically pointing at Naomi. I think we talked about it the same thing in regards to Naomi winning, just because she's been able to push the envelope with this new character, less glitz and glamour, more just letting her be herself, let her do her own thing. So I
had to close my window.
Oh, you're
Starting to
good.
downpour. I don't want rain getting in here on my PC.
Not your expensive
I was
PC.
like, I'm sitting here. These cut out sound pretty well, and I started hearing something like I felt water smack my face, and I looked up and it's downpouring.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
Like, I'm glad my office is in my dining room where I don't do any dining.
Yeah.
So
he eats in his living room.
I do.
I do the same thing.
TV trays, man. TV trays.
I know. I need.
That is
I need
70s and 80s right there for you. TV trays. Yep.
Hey,
I need to buy some.
It's an individual table that I can use. So
exactly, a table for one.
Big dining room tables are stupid.
I know. I had to get rid of mine, and I got rid of mine. Now my dining room is where my rabbits are and where my girlfriend's art table is. That's pretty much.
Don't let the rabbits hump.
They're in their separate cages. They can't be together because they'll probably kill each other.
Oh goodness.
God, it's like
they
it's
weren't.
like real world.
We still have to train them to get used to each other. Well, I don't see that happening. All right, let's back to wrestling.
Hey, rabbit trails, pun intended.
Yep.
So we basically at AAA got this kind of random call out by Dominic Mysterio, basically calling out Octagon Jr. And basically we get this like
that was a good match.
I mean, it was a quick match.
It was, but they both put on a great show.
I mean, I'd chalk it up though. I honestly like I said before, I've talked a lot of shit about Dominic Mysterio for years, even beyond this podcast. And I like that he's starting to come into his own. He's performing better. His mic skills are better.
He's slowly branching off a little bit at a time away from Judgment Day.
He's branching off like his mustache from his lip.
His 70 or 60 style porn star mustache.
Exactly. Yes. But anyways. No, I mean, yeah, it was a good match. It just kind of was. I feel like they could have gave him a little bit more time, but it was kind of a rushed match. So I feel like
it pretty much was. I think they needed an extra match in there, and that's probably why they threw that one in.
Yeah, I mean,
just to spread the time, just to spread the time a little longer for the pay-per-view.
Yeah. So the next match was Becky Lynch versus.
That was a good one.
Versus Lyra Valkyria for
the
women's IC title, and good match. And honestly, good on Becky for sticking to her guns of this kind of egotistical, egomaniac character. Continuing the Daman persona and just kind of, winning in a. They say she grabbed her tights, and I'm like, her whole outfit is her tights. But now we have Becky as the IC title holder, and I think we're going to I think Lyra will kind of fizzle, unfortunately. And I feel like we're going to probably see a Stephanie Vacour or Roxanne Perez possibly go after this title. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they've been pushing Stephanie Vaquer and Roxanne Perez like extremely strong. So like they got thrusted into storylines like that. So I definitely think with Becky being champion now, we can explore the rest of the roster, have some better matches, have Becky still come on top. I think Becky will have this title beyond SummerSlam. Whoever she faces at SummerSlam, she's gonna beat, and so she'll probably hold that title till probably Survivor Series, is my guess. But
I'm gonna say she's gonna hold it to SummerSlam, maybe.
Yeah, there'll be.
I mean,
there'll
depends on
be
how
a
they
couple of
book.
close matches. Yeah.
I mean, it's really just comes down to booking. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
true.
with Becky, they're gonna have higher caliber just because Becky is high caliber and Lyra, unfortunately, was kind of the newcomer. So I feel like they're gonna really rip the cord now, and we're gonna start seeing more defenses in the near future. So now the men's Money in the Bank was an absolute kerfuffle. There was so much going on. It was absolutely insane. It was legitimately nonstop. You basically had everything from a Grande Americano using his metal plate. You had the assistance of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. You had Solo and JC Mateo be helping Solo. You had Jacob Fatu turn on Solo Sikoa, which
We
I
all saw
thought
happening.
finally, just finally. Like
He destroyed him.
We've been seeing these cracks for like months, and I'm glad they finally just pulled the cord, let that shit rip, let just Jacob Fatu do what Jacob Fatu do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and he does not need anyone. Period.
No. He's just a one-man wrecking machine.
Yeah. And I really hope they really just kind of let him cook. Let him go solo. Let him drift away from Solo and JC Mateo. I feel like they're going to welcome a third member, but I don't, or they're just going to, I don't know. It's a real toss-up because let's be real, Solo Sikoa does not function by himself. No. He came into a group. He branched out and made a group. Now you have Jacob out of the scene. Now it's him and JC Mateo. Do we see a third member? I really don't think we do.
No. I think they're going to branch off, either be themselves or they'll probably just branch off on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we're here for whatever they do. Now, Mr. two-time Money in the Bank winner now, Seth Rollins, that was a good call. And I say good call because now he can add that to his plethora of resume, two-time. And but like now it's a matter of when does he do it? How does he outdo what he did before at WrestleMania? And who does he go after? Because you really don't know. And with this whole wishy-washy which brand you're on, does that, whatever he goes, does that mean Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed go with him if he goes, or is he going to go on his own brand on Mondays? Is he going to go after Gunther or Jay, whoever's holding the title? I hope they don't wash this Money in the Bank cash in like last year with Drew McIntyre. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I don't need any. I need to see cash-ins that have an outcome that carries the stories that the person is cashing in to another level. I don't need the cash-in to be the end of that character's story or story run. I need it to like further. Like if it's a failed cash in, it's because there's a callback to like previous, like for Naomi, for example, she fails to cash it in. Why? Because Jade Cargill stops her or
thwarts her championship aspirations.
Yeah, so I would like to see something like that, so we can get more of that story, or Bianca Belair, or something or another. I need a failed cash in, not to just be a bust. I needed to like carry the story.
I don't think she's failing.
I don't think Naomi's going. I think Naomi's cash in will be a success and she will get a championship. I don't want it to be a secondary title. I want it to be the world championship. I want her.
Yeah, I don't think the only problem is the couple years ago when Austin Theory won the Money in the Bank was there was no plans for anyone losing the belt on either brands. And he kind of got stuck in, winning the Money in the Bank in a really shitty time. And that's unfortunate for him. And that honestly really sucks for him because he's not going to have some grand and glorious cash in. And he really didn't. He ended up cashing in on the United States Championship that he already held before. And so, it was just terrible. But, now that we have more of a broad amount of storylines going on, I see Seth cashing in on whoever's champion on Raw. I think Naomi will probably cash in. I mean, honestly, I don't think she really wants to deal with Rhea anymore. So I feel like she's probably going to go after probably whoever's on SmackDown, I believe. So
Probably.
she'll probably go after Tiffany Stratton is my guess. But I don't know. It's the joys of being the said Money in the Bank, Mrs. Money in the Bank, Mr. Money in the Bank. We don't know. And honestly, I want to be surprised. I don't need Seth Rollins WrestleMania amount of cash in, but I need a legit cash in because both people that have the Money in the Bank right now have already won championships. So winning the championship is not the story. It's how you win it is the story. Because they've already been champions. So how can Seth outdo what he did before when he cashed in? How big of a moment, glass shattering moment do we need to see when he cashes in? And that's the story. The same thing with Naomi. Naomi's been a champion. She hasn't been any of the new championships. So to a certain extent, I guess this one's more fresh. Yeah. Just because you have new titles. So they're labeled a little bit different than the women's heavyweight championship or whatever it was before. Or no, it was the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship.
It was Raw and SmackDown Championship.
Yeah. So I think however she pulls the rabbit out of her hat on this one, I think it'll be good. And honestly, good on Naomi. She's had a lot of characters that she's gone. She did the glow thing for the longest time. And it was very mid. So, I mean, I look forward to an exciting cash in, and I don't want the rumor mills to ruin this for us. I don't.
It's so hard to differentiate between what's rumor or dirt sheet versus what we can best guess, because they sometimes could be so far or so close that we really don't know. But I would say we will get the cash in teases up until at least SummerSlam, and then SummerSlam we do get a cash in. Seth Rollins, we know he can be patient. His character can be quite patient. So we may not get anything until we know after Gunther and Jay, what kind of Seth Rollins will get. Because if they do take it off of Jay, and put it back on Gunther, then it's a no-brainer that Seth is going to cash in on Gunther, because he wants Monday Night Raw, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I just, it's kind of really hard to like, figure out which is going to work. Which, and by what I mean which is going to work, are we going to get the type of cash-ins that have something going for the person after the cash-in, or are we going to get cash-ins that are a bust and they don't do anything for any story,
Yeah, I mean,
and
and at this point, at this juncture, like I said, it's both of the Money in the Bank holders have won championships. So like this is going to have to be more about the story of them cashing in than them winning a belt, because
Agree.
and so I think it's really going to there's going to have to be a real strong story that it's working towards. We don't have to be in Naomi doesn't have to be in a store with anybody to cash in, but when she cashes in, there needs to be a story ready.
right.
And so I think that, like I said, it's more about the story of how they win it than them winning it because they're both already champions in the past. So, I will look forward to what they're gonna do, honestly. Now let's get to the main event of Money in the Bank, the creme de la creme of everything. So, John Cena, Logan Paul versus Cody and Jey Uso. Phenomenal match. And I will say this one time on live, Logan Paul's a star. One time. Because what he did and how he performed was amazing. Let's be real. You have an outsider who really, on the surface, you just see him as some social media job, but he's put in the work. And I will give him that because you can see it. The guy's got a finisher now. Okay. The pulverizer is a great finisher.
Oh, it's great. I like it.
So, they put on a phenomenal match. Now, John Cena tried to be a dirty cheater as he was when he won it, but someone through the shadows, dressed in black, came back. But it's got R-Truth. You dog, you absolute dog, you
stud.
Like,
Justin, absolute,
I would say this will easily go down, at least up to current, as the best moment to happen at Money in the Bank. Period. The fact that they did all this release stuff and apparently a deal had been struck, within the 72 hours between him getting released and him appearing at Money in the Bank. Now, I don't know if they're going to. There's been murmurings of him going under his actual name, Ron Killings, which they did the same thing when Jeff Cobb came, and then now they switched his name to JC Mateo, obviously. But like when he came back, they gave him his name. Obviously, had to change it for legality reasons, but I don't care how they spin Ron Killings or R-Truth. I think everybody on social media deserves a clap. Okay? Because we did it, people. We all did it. Because wrestlers were talking about it. The fans were talking about it. They had, even if this was a storyline, it was believable. And that's the one thing, that I've preached about, is that we need to believe things. And we all believed R-Truth got screwed.
Yeah, he did.
But if this was just some fancy booking, they knocked this creative out the fucking park.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've watched a couple of other YouTubers and online comments, and I am under the impression that he was released. The call came down from the very top of TKO and said, "Hey, get something done, bring him back." Seth and I spoke about it before we started the podcast, and I happen to be under the belief that the ownership of TKO, asked WWE to bring him back, give him a good proper run. And if you know that you're not going to re-sign someone or offer a contract extension, work them up to their contracts and in good faith, give them a good sign off and let them go with accomplishing something, whether it's putting over new talent, whether it's wrapping up their storylines. Bring whatever their current run is to a good conclusion with the opportunity that they may come back.
Well,
I think that's good for fans and good for business.
Let R-Truth finish on his own. Like let him be like, hey, I've done this for 25, 30 years. I'm done. But let him go out on his own terms. And I think because he got so much outpouring from the WWE universe, like dozens of WWE talent, current and past, all spoke up for him. And he is legitimately one of the cornerstone gems of WWE in its entirety. He has wrestled in every era of WWE. He is not only a talented athlete, he is just a good person. And he has been a good person to the talent. He makes people enjoy coming to work, because when you have the caliber that R-Truth is, and you have him breaking people's characters, you have them laughing, you have them enjoying their job, like, hey man, by the way, you got this bit with R-Truth, and you're like, man, what is he gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I love it. Yeah. So, we'll see what Monday brings. We're definitely gonna, of course, probably. Actually, you know what? It's a guarantee. Seth Rollins kicks off the show.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
And he's gonna, blast off some, you better watch out, kind of nonsense, we'll call it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to even say anything about who he's going to cash in on. I think this is going to be like, hey, this is going to be him. Yeah. And I love when they don't cash in, but they give us the allure of them cashing in.
Mm.
So I don't think Seth will give too many of those. I think let's see, we have a year, and let's say he cashes in 6 months. We're only going to get like 2 instances, maybe 3 or 4, that he's going to come out and say he's going to cash in. Because honestly, Seth being the architect, the revolutionary, like, he's going to pick his shot just like he did the last time. So this is not going to be any tomfoolery cash in. This is going to be thought about, planned out, and executed. So
yeah,
we're not getting any funny business. This is going to be him doing what him do best, and that is plan and be the architect. So, but
yep,
we shall see what. I don't think the next PLE, I think, honestly, is like Saturday Night Main Event, I think, in a couple weeks or something. But the Saturday Night Main Event's kind of boring. It's kind of dumb. It's like them basically, the matches that people would want on a regular PLE, they're putting in Saturday Night Main Event. They're like overflow. They're like the extra matches. So, but I mean, we'll see what happens. We have plenty of weeks to pontificate to see what happens in the world of WWE. I cannot believe we've actually reached 50 subscribers. I think that is fantastic.
Well done.
We've grinded. I think we have like over 30 followers on TikTok, which I think is cool too. Plenty of views on YouTube Shorts, plenty of views on TikTok. It's been a ride. It's fun. I think what sets us apart is that we're not giving you all of the Dave Meltzer dirt sheets. We're not giving you all of the little rumor roundup and all that nonsense. We're just talking from what we see and we're reacting to what we see. We're not running the gauntlet of let's share 20,000 things of what someone else said. No, this is what we're saying. Period.
Right.
Point blank. Like, take it or leave it. It's just our thoughts. So yes. So we'll put a pin in this and we will see what happens this week. We'll see what kind of nonsense and tomfoolery we can deduce. This is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.